Welcome to the Talkin Vols Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. We are less than 2 weeks away from Tennessee taking on Clemson in the Orange Bowl. Starting to get a little fired up about it. I get it. It is what it is. It's a meaningless bowl game, but still excited to watch this team go out and compete one last time in 2022. What a fun ride it's been. Been a great season. Yes, there was a lot of ups and a few downs, but still going to remember this football team for a long time, ending the streak to Alabama, going on the road to Death Valley and putting a beat down on LSU, showing the country that we are Kentucky's daddy. Just a fun season all around. But for now, we continue transfer portal season because that's what it is. And Tennessee's targeted some wide receivers earlier. Mentioned yesterday in a video about a defensive back that they're targeting. One of the biggest needs on this football team is the offensive line. How are you going to replace Darnell Wright, who's off to the NFL? But again, I made a video on him yesterday too. Coming back for one last ride. He wants to play in that Orange Bowl. Talks about how much it means to him to go out and compete with his brothers one last time. But those are big shoes to fill. You got to have somebody kind of step in, replace Darnell Wright. Really going into next year, the only offensive tackles you've got with some experience on this roster, Jeremiah Crawford, Gerald Mincey, Dane Davis. Outside of that, you really need to add some depth. Tennessee is going to target a couple of offensive tackles in the portal. We'll get into it, talk about it, but as always, do me a favor, go ahead and smash that like button just below the video. It's quick, it's free, it's easy, it helps the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you are new to the Talkin Vols Network, welcome. We're not experts, we're not insiders, we're not media. We don't try to tell you we're something we're not. This channel is for the fans, by the fans. We are fans just like you. If you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe, click that bell for notifications. You won't miss out when we go live or when we drop a video. I'll be live tomorrow night, Sunday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Come hang out. We're going to play some NCAA football on the Xbox 360, but we're also going to be talking Tennessee football. We'll talk recruiting. We'll talk transfer portal. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss it. Let's jump into it. Take a look at a couple of targets that are in the portal that Tennessee is visiting or having on campus for visits this week. The first one, Texas offensive tackle Andre Carrick, 6'5", 306 pounds. He's a sophomore, got plenty of eligibility left. This is a guy that as soon as the portal opened, he was in there. He was active. He coming out of high school, class of 2020. He was a four-star prospect out of Southlake, Texas. He was one of the top offensive tackles in the country. Came in at 26th overall, according to 247 Sports. Now, he's a guy that really kind of keeping things close to the vest, not letting anybody really in on this recruiting process. It's kind of interesting. Glenn Ellerbe actually went and visited him after he entered the portal. Then he was on campus. He arrived on Thursday, left on Friday, according to Brent Hubbs over at VolQuest. He's going to visit 4 schools, including Tennessee. He's already visited 2. Again, came on campus on Thursday. And then he was gone Friday, going to take another visit, but he's not telling anybody who he is going to see. So that's an interesting thing about Andre Carrick. Really, you know, we see some of these kids in the portal. We see some of these kids in the world of recruiting. It's all about me. They're putting all this stuff on social media. That's not the case with Andre Carrick. He seems to be all about business, not even saying who he is visiting. So it's hard to really get a grasp on where Tennessee is at in this recruitment, but the fact that out of the 4 schools he chose to come visit Tennessee, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. And again, Brent Hubbs said he wants to make a decision soon, but didn't say exactly what soon means. You can go down here and take a look at his bio. As a freshman in 2020, played in 3 games, started 1. 2021, played in 11 games with 1 start. Started at right tackle against Oklahoma in the Red River Showdown. So he's got a little bit of experience, not much. Sophomore, plenty of eligibility left. Will Tennessee be able to close the deal? Will they be able to add Andre Carrick? Again, you got to like his frame, his size. And, you know, I mentioned yesterday when talking about Darnell Wright and his development and how we've seen him really come along, you know, part of that is Glenn Ellerbe. And if you can get some of these guys that have the potential, and again, Carrick coming out of high school, 4-star prospect, I think he has the size, he's got the frame, he's got the potential to play in the SEC. Can we get him on campus, and can Glenn Ellerbe develop him? Or can he continue to develop, you know, Dane Davis, Gerald Mincey, Jeremiah Crawford? I think Crawford and Mincey at times looked good, and the fact that they were kind of competing neck and neck, you really didn't notice. You really didn't notice a drop-off there. I feel like they played some good football this year. So can they add Carrick and continue to build that depth on the offensive line? Another one that is coming in town to visit is this guy, Johnny Cornelius. Now, he's got an interesting story because coming out of high school in the class of 2020, not a whole lot of buzz, not even ranked, was not ranked according to the recruiting services. Now, Johnny Cornelius is going to be on campus this weekend for about a day, about 24 hours. But let's take a look at who he is in the transfer portal. Johnny Cornelius goes from no-star recruit to coveted by Power 5. None of the 1,000-plus football players who have entered the portal has a story better that epitomizes the awkward dynamic playing out on college campuses this month than a Johnny Cornelius. This is an article from theathletic.com. Says in 3 years, the Harlem, New York native went from being a no-star recruit to perhaps the most coveted prospect in the portal. Last week, the 6'5", 305-pound sophomore offensive tackle visited Nebraska and Oregon. He's expected to fly to Tennessee on Friday. He did arrive. He is here. He's taking that visit. Then he's heading to Columbus on Saturday to visit Ohio State before making his decision prior to Christmas. Coming out of New York's Archbishop Stepanik Cornelius didn't have any FBS offers, even though he had shown the skills at camps at Syracuse and Rutgers. So again, here you can see his social media post had a visit with Nebraska, followed that up with a visit at Oregon. So he is on campus now visiting with the University of Tennessee, and then he will head off to Ohio State for that last visit before making a decision prior to Christmas. Again, just an interesting story. You know, an interesting story coming out of high school, but we see this, man. This is the new college football. These kids coming out don't have a lot of buzz or excitement around their recruitment. They still are able to go on and play football at the next level. They showcase their skills, and then they transfer out to a bigger school. You're talking about a kid going from Rhode Island. Now he's taking visits to Nebraska, Oregon, Tennessee, and Ohio State. Says here, Stephon Wheeler, the former Michigan State standout offensive lineman who made the Spartans' 2000s All-Decade team and is the O-line coach at Rhode Island. Though saw Jim, Wheeler had identified Cornelius when he was an assistant coach at Wagner earlier in the lineman's career while recruiting other players. Noting a big prospect who needed to change his body but could bend and thinking he might be a guy, there's something there. Cornelius signed with Rhode Island and over the past 3 years worked diligently, easy for me to say, to remake his body and refine his technique with Wheeler. In 2021, when the Rams faced Albany, you guys remember this name, with gifted edge rusher Jared Verse, who was a hot commodity in the portal last year, ended up at Florida State, unfortunately. We remember that recruitment. Says Cornelius, as a freshman, more than held his own. Verse matched up against both Rhode Island offensive tackles and was kept sackless, but did record 3 pressures. Had 4 tackles for loss and 2 sacks in his prior game against the Rams before Cornelius was in the lineup. So that's interesting. Says here, Verse is a monster. Wheeler said, but both my tackles did pretty good, pretty solid against him. This fall, Cornelius shined again against big-time talent when Rhode Island played Pitt, which has one of the best D-lines in college football. Cornelius got to match up against the Panthers. Star defensive tackle Cansey on some run blocks and pass stunts, as well as against a group that leads the nation in sacks with 45. Did really well. Wheeler said he played his tail off. So again, we're seeing that a Johnny Cornelius can hold his own. He can hold his own against the best of the best defensive line in the country, according to some. Now he's got that opportunity to bump up. Again, I make this comparison all the time. It reminds me of minor league baseball. You see these kids end up at small schools, and then they showcase their skills, and then they have offers at Ohio State, Oregon, Tennessee, and Nebraska. So we will continue to follow this too. Pretty good offensive tackles in the portal that Tennessee has had on campus over the last couple of days. Andrej Carrick, offensive tackle from Texas, and a Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle from Rhode Island. You guys hit the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. What positions of need would you like to see Tennessee continue to pursue? It's kind of been a slow process. We've seen wide receivers. We've seen offensive linemen. We've seen some edge rushers. We've seen an interior defensive lineman. We've seen a corner that I talked about yesterday. We'll continue to track it, continue to keep you guys up to date on movement in the transfer portal, but I want to hear your comments. And as always, do me a favor, smash the like button on the way out the door and go check out the merch. Bonfire.com/store/talkingballs. Get you that Vols by 50 shirt or just an old school state pride, whatever you want. We've got it. Probably not going to get it by Christmas, but buy yourself a New Year's Day present. You deserve it. You deserve a New Year's Day present. Buy it for yourself. If your wife, if your brother, if your cousin won't buy it for you, buy it for yourself. Bonfire.com/store/talkingballs. We appreciate the support. As always, thank you to the members of the channel. That's going to do it for this one. This is the Talkin' Vols Network. My name is Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.